Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. This channel and shadow band scouting, we should be getting at least 10K views, 5K views, 12K views, for the simple fact that not one person outside of me and Colby and I, got this whole fucking Denver Bronco thing right. One would think we would be asked for interviews on the national media level, the sports media, because they didn't get it right. But quite frankly, that does not upset me more than the same people who got it wrong. Everybody's tuning into them, even though they continue to get it wrong and will continue to get it wrong. The part that really upsets me the most is that the fired Nathaniel Hackett is just code and speak for give the Denver Bronco front office yet another pass. Who hired the coach? It's the guy that they say doesn't exist. The same guy who hired the last coach and the last coach and is picking players who either get injured or get overpaid or both of that, injured and overpaid, or just plain underwhelmed. When will people call this front office out? 7 years of the same thing post Pat Bowlen, post Manning, the same thing over and over and over again. Bad deal after bad deal. When you become quarterback obsessed, because John Elway, you didn't do that by yourself bringing in Peyton Manning. You know for a fact you didn't want to hire Von Miller. You were overridden. You know for a fact you didn't want Wade Phillips. You were overridden. Because people need to override your ass because you have no fucking clue what you're doing except giving yourself a promotion and hiding behind onion layers. Who spearheaded the committee, the coach committee? Who spearheaded that? If you think that George Paton is responsible, and George, here's the thing, Mr. Paton, I'm going to say this to you. You want to fall and die on the sword on this Russell Wilson deal, one of the worst deals turning out in all of sports history. You want to sign your name solely to that, or are you going to say, "Hey, I wasn't the final word on that. That wasn't the final say. I was a part of it. By no means was I the final say, or even the driving force behind that. It's up to you. You can go down in history as one of the worst GMs in any sport in history by being the sole guy responsible. Or are you going to figure out a way to tell the truth a little bit about who's been obsessing all the way back to Trevor Siemian on quarterbacks, getting one has-been after another? Before George Paton was even here, before you were here, George Paton, who's been totally obsessed with quarterbacks, receivers? You think Al Davis ran this team from the 90s. Edges, which obviously, if you watch the game, edges came in, but there was no push up the middle. So Sam Darnold just steps up and every we see this week in and week out. Are you going to fall on the sword for John Elway? When are people going to get a clue that nothing is going to change for the Denver Broncos until the front office that's been there since the end of Peyton Manning's era, since that time, since Pat Bowlen died, since they fired Adam Peters? Who's been the one guy? Who needs to go? Before anything will ever get done, you think the guy that picked the coach, Hackett, do you think he's going to get it right the next time? And who on what planet would come to the dysfunctional Denver Broncos with that front office still in place? A guy hiding behind a consulting company with the biggest office in the Dove Valley, probably bigger than Penner's. Who wants to go to that shit show? Who in their right mind would do that? You're definitely not going to get Sean Payton. He's already come out and said said everything but the Denver Broncos. And now we're going to get into this. Oh, we just need another coach. Just another coach. Just another coach. Just another coach. Just another quarterback. How about building an organization from the ground up? Why don't we start with that instead of getting pieces here and getting pieces there? Huh? Why don't we get rid of that consulting office there? Get rid of Peyton. Sure, get rid of him. Get rid of Hackett. Hell yeah, get rid of all of them. Get rid of all that administration. And let's get down to brass tacks. Why don't you go and get a GM that has like Adam Peters? My partner says Adam Peters, who knows what kind of team, what the culture is going to be, what the identity is going to be. Before we worry about quarterbacks, let's build the infrastructure that can support a quarterback before worrying about what has been to go after next, what used to be, what retread, what name. No, you can't do that. Front office couldn't get it right to save their life. Now, the media is tied to this. That local, that whole media. Why did you all listen to that? Oh, yeah, this is going to be a playoff team. They were a cellar dweller when they got Russell Wilson. How did you not know? How in the world did you not know this was going to happen? And I'll admit, we knew it was bad. We knew it was bad, but we didn't know it was this bad. In a way we did, but we didn't know the collapse would happen so fast. With that front office intact, you think bringing in some coach? I mean, I'm just going to sit back and pop popcorn just to see what idiot's going to get roped into coming here. I can guarantee you he ain't going to be a coach worth his salt. It's not going to, there ain't no magic bullets. The Denver Broncos do not have the player personnel. What did you see this afternoon? Carolina's player personnel looked head and shoulders better than the Denver Broncos. The whole defense, number one, is smoke and mirrors. They never could stop the run. They never can really stop the pass. It's teams that end up stopping themselves. Where are the big playmakers on defense? Last week it was Crosby. Came out. This week it was the linebacker there, 53. Can't think of the name right off the bat. Stealing the defensive show. We have nobody. We never had anybody all year as a game wrecker. Nobody. This is teams know they don't have to score that much. And I'm assuming when they play the Chiefs are going to look at it as a day off. Hey, look, if we score 15 points, hey, we'll win the game. We don't have to work hard. I think that's what happened last year, too. They didn't feel they had to work hard. They never felt like they were ever out of it. So quit fooling yourself. I think George Payton, the whole reason Wilson was signed, and it was a sales pitch by John Elway, and of course George Payton was involved in that sales pitch. I'm not going to let him off the hook for that. But John Elway spearheaded that, the signing of Russell Wilson to the $250 million to the owner, sold it to him. He spearheaded, just like he spearheaded the coaching committee, because Payton really wanted Dan Quinn. He didn't want Hackett. Remember, Dan Quinn was ready to be hired. Oh, emergency, tap on the shoulder. Elway says no. Who's running the team? Who's really running the team? Oh, he's just an outside consultant. Yeah, with all the power. That's the part they won't tell you about. That's why I say tune in here to this channel. My God, we've been right the whole time. Why would you not tune it in? Why would you not listen to us? Why would you not heed what we're saying? The media around the local area here will give the front office yet another pass. Fire the coach, fire the coach. How many times have we heard fire the coach? I opened up this season saying that this would be the most flammable coaching staff. And if you want to bring in a new coach, he's going to want his own defensive coordinators and all this. You like Edgerow, right? Well, yeah, but. Yeah, do you think a coach is going to come in and say, well, I didn't sign Edgerow up. I'm not here to... look, why would you sign on to this offense? all game long, the offensive line just broke down and broke down and broke down. Russell Wilson is basically a one-read quarterback. He's a quick throw, one-read quarterback. You take that read away, and he just hangs onto the ball too long. He's not a pocket quarterback and go through his progressions. That's not who he is. And Colby was right. I said he'd have to be that. He's not going to be that. So you're stuck and boondoggled with that. You gave all your draft picks to Seattle. Thank you, Mr. Elway. But let's get back to what I was saying. They had to sell this turd to the owner. This $250, because when they brought Russell, I guarantee they told Russell Wilson, this isn't just a deal for Seattle. This is a deal for you too. And as we said from the very beginning, Russell Wilson wasn't banging the door to get to Denver. They basically, Seattle had enough of him. Seattle obviously had enough of him. John Elway, the desperate person that he is, the desperate individual that he is, just needed a name. I need a name. I need a name. Because he didn't do it all. When it came to Peyton Manning, that whole thing, he did not do it all. Pat Bowlen said, no, you are not going to bring in Vance Joseph. No, Wade Phillips. Pat Bowlen said, no, you're going to let him pick Von Miller. He is the GM. That's Adam Peters. No, Elway. So he was told over and over and over no, and now he wanted to show everybody that he could do it on his own and see just what happened. You can see just what happened. And to not say, dude, you got to get out of here. You can get all the coaches you want. You might get a high school coach, whatever. It's not going to make a difference until that front office is cleared out. And quite frankly, they need to trim the administrative. All the administrative fucking noise that's associated with the Denver Broncos. They need a GM running it all. From a GM saying, this is the way it's going to go. This is going to be our culture, and then get, a coach that gets the culture and can get former maybe players from around the world or around the NFL, former players who are really good at coaching. Get something together. Start building an identity. Start from the ground up. The whole thing, a lot of these players need to go. Simmons needs to go. Draymond Jones was a play here or there, but you don't see playmakers. You don't see any playmakers at all. They all need to go. These big contracts these receivers got. And for what? You get a new coach and not address this front office. This is totally a front office situation here. This is such a mismanaged team. That's what we said. And the front office, they ban Colby. They do everything they can to get his stuff off there because they don't want that message out there where they're held responsible. They do not want to be held responsible. They just want to keep making one bad decision after another till eternity. And Rob Walton better get it figured out. He better figure out that front office is shit. He better figure out he was sold a bill of goods by a bunch of incompetent a-holes, mainly John Elway, hiding behind his consultant company. And like I said, George Payton, you can go ahead and you can, if you want to fall on the sword, you'll be the one that is, and let John Elway just slink away without his hand in it being discussed, being shown to the world. Mr. Committee, Mr. Tap on the shoulder there. You can be the one that goes down to be the worst GM in any history of any sports. That's what you want to do. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that no matter what. I'm not going to fall on the sword that much for John Elway. It's going to be up to you, buddy. This is much bigger than a Hackett problem. Much bigger. And if you want to, again, had you been tuned into us, all the people who do tune us, they all know this stuff. They all know this stuff. But all of you other people out there that went and listened to all that nonsense, how could this team be a playoff when they didn't have the player personnel to be that? No way did they have. If they had the player personnel, they would have been so close with Teddy Bridgewater. They were a lot better off with Teddy Bridgewater, obviously. Even Pat Shurmur, as bad as an offense, he's horrible. But what were they all saying in the offseason? Oh, Those stupid coaches, they don't know let the players run the show. That's what they were saying. That's what you got. So you got a big mess in Denver. Nobody worth their salt's going to come to Denver until that front office is cleared out, until you simplify things there, bring it and boil it down to the lowest common denominator and go from there and figure out who the fuck you want to be. Denver Broncos.